My name's Sarah Barnett, and I live on my family farm with my husband and my father, my mother-in-law, my brothers and sisters-in-law, and we have a big farm. We raise corn and soybeans, and we have lots of cows. And one of the ways we get all of that farming done is with Fantastic Farm Machines, and that is the book that I'm going to be reading to you guys today. It's called Fantastic Farm Machines, and the author is Chris Peterson. This machine that I'm sitting on is one of the ones we use to harvest our crops. This is called a combine, and I'm going to read to you guys about that. The combine's actually part of this book. When Grandpa farmed with the horses and one bottom plows, it was tough, back-breaking work. So when the first tractors became available, Grandpa bought one right away. He loved farm machinery. Today, our family uses all kinds of machines to help us farm. Tractors and planters, choppers and chisel plows. We have a special machine for almost every job we do. First, I'm going to read to you about a tractor. Tractors are the most important machines on our farm. We have an old tractor we use for grading the road. We use another tractor with 8 huge wheels for field work. It is so fast and powerful that it can pull a plow through an acre of land in less than 5 minutes. The wheel wells are so big, you can almost stand in them. A chisel plow. A chisel plow turns the soil over to the sunshine. It is pulled behind our biggest tractor and helps make the fields ready for planting. Everyone in our family loves to plow because the earth smells so good and we can imagine the crops growing as we work. A soil finisher. Years ago, we had to plow, then disc, and then dig, and then drag each field before we could plant it. We bounced and bumped along our tractors for days. Now we have a soil finisher. It cuts up the clods of soil and smooths out the seed bed, so the ground looks like a perfect brown carpet. Our crops grow green and lush in fields dug with a soil finisher. Corn planter. Our corn planter plants 12 rows of perfectly spaced seeds at a time. It is pulled by a tractor that has a computer to show us exactly how much seed we are using per acre. Each tiny kernel or seed travels through a maze of metal discs and tubes until it drops into the ground. A packing wheel then covers the seed with dirt. A grain drill. Our grain drill plants wheat, oats, soybeans, and other crops. The tiny seeds sift through the metal plates and plastic tubes to land in narrow, nearly invisible rows in the soil. Instead of separate wide rows like the ones in the corn planter, we end up with an unbroken blanket of green plants. An irrigation pivot sprays thousands of gallons of water into a circle of plants up to a half a mile wide. With its silvery tubing and long arching arms, this machine looks like the skeleton wing of a huge prehistoric bird. When you fly over cropland in the west on a clear summer day, you can see hundreds of green circles on the ground made by irrigation pivots. The abundant water really makes the corn grow. A crop sprayer. A crop sprayer has 4 tall wheels that help it roll through rows of plants growing up to 6 feet high. The computer in the sprayer cab controls the amount of spray applied to our crops. We scout the fields for pests and diseases before we spray. When we apply the proper type and quantity of chemicals, the plants are protected from insects and from weeds. Cutting hay is one of my favorite jobs on the farm. The alfalfa and clover blossoms smell heavenly. Haying used to be an all-summer job that included countless trips through the field to cut and process the hay. Now our mower conditioner cuts, crushes, and piles the hay all in one pass. A chopper. If the weather is sunny, we chop our hay the day after we cut it. The damp hay looks like grass clippings as it is blown into a wagon or a truck. This haylage, that's what it's called, is then dumped into a gigantic pile that grows like a green mountain out of nowhere. Then it is packed down and covered with white plastic to be saved for winter feeding. A combine, that's what I'm sitting on. That's this big machine I'm sitting on right here. A combine looks like a small house moving across the land. This machine does several jobs at once. It cuts the corn, wheat, and oats, or beans. It beats the grain out of its husk. It blows the waste away and then transfers the grain to a grain box or a hopper or a big grain truck. A manure spreader. Where there are cows, pigs, or horses, there's manure. We spread all the manure from our cows onto the fields for fertilizer. Our spreader is pulled by a tractor. The spreader digs the manure right into the fields. The manure enriches the soil and helps our corn and hay to grow. A skid steer. Our skid steer is a mini loader that can turn on a dime and has a bendable jointed arm that attaches to assorted buckets, forks, and scrapers. It hauls, cleans, and lifts. It spins, pushes, and pulls. We have 2 skid steers that are used all day, scooping feed and cleaning barns. They make our chores so much easier. If Grandpa were here today, he'd be amazed at all the big machines we use to farm his land. I know he'd love to drive our skid steers, and he'd spend hours on our huge 8-wheel tractors. Today we grow over 1,000 acres of crops, including corn, soybeans, and alfalfa. Whether we are plowing or planting, cutting or chopping, lifting or loading, there are machines for the job. Machines Grandpa could never even have dreamed of. Now, we don't use all of those machines on our farm, but we use most of them. Lots of tractors, combines, skid steers, most of the things that I read to you about in this book. Agriculture and farming is all made possible by fantastic farm machines. I hope you boys and girls enjoyed reading this book with me today, and you continue to be interested in agriculture.